So to add the progress bar, let's go back to our on-screen UI widget. If you don't know where that was, we'll go back a few steps. It should be in your content folder. Content. We made a HUD folder, the on-screen UI. And here we're going to, on the left side, select progress bar and drag it in and make it about this big. And let's add a text to it. We'll type the text as progress. Just make it a little bigger. Let's say 35. Now on the progress bar you can click on it and there's some neat things where the first thing to note before we start is it works in percent. So right now it's on 0 and 1 is 100%. So keep that in mind. 0 and 1. Right. So we're going to click on our progress bar. You can make it go left to right, right to left. You can change the color. Let's make this a nice green color. And there can other fun things in here, but for the basic premise of it, this should work. So make sure the percent is at 0. I'm going to go and click on bind. Create binding. That's made a function called getPercent. Let's break the link here and we'll come back to this in a minute. Compile, save. Now let's go back to our third person blueprint and make another custom event. Add custom event. And we're going to call this update progress value. And we're going to make a new variable. We're going to call it, we need two variables actually. We need progress value, make it a float, and we need a second variable called progress max. And we're going to compile because we want to actually set the max value right now. You can't do that until you compile. So make sure you compile, click on the variable progress max, and the default value here, we're going to set it to 100. And we'll come back to this in a minute. Now we're going to go to our progress value. We're going to set the progress value based on getting the progress value, float plus float, add there. Now we're not going to add by 1, we're going to add by 10. Alright? So make sure your progress value float is adding by 10 and setting the value. So this was 0, this will start at 0, 10, 20, 30, and so on when we call this function or custom event. So let's go back to our on-screen UI, and we want to go to our function here, getPercent. It's going to be very similar to getText. So we're going to do cast to third person character. Again, that's where our functions are. Again, going back to a thing earlier, this is very hacky. Usually these functions would be in a game mode or a level, but I'm just hijacking a third person character for the sake of argument or discussion. So don't do it like this in a shipping project, but hopefully you can learn from here. Anyways, we're going to object, we're going to do get player character. Okay, and then as third person, we're going to do get progress value, and drag out another pin, get progress max. And what we're going to do is a little bit of math here. We're going to do progress value float divide. So basically what we did is we're going to take the value and divide it by the max and return it return that value. Now remember when I said the max is 100 and we're going to increment by 10, and that the progress bar works in percentages. 0 is 0%, 1 is 100%. So this simple math here is saying the value divided by 100 will give you 8%. So 10 divided by 100 is 10%. 20 divided by 100, 20%, and so on. So this will keep things very simple for our progress bar. Let's compile, save. So let's jump back to our capture point blueprint, where we have on begin overlap sphere, switch has authority. We're going to get actors of all class. Which class? Third person character. We're going to delay, and we're going to set the points. Setting the points, let's update the progress. So delete that. As third person character, we're going to do update progress value. Connect that pin, compile, save, and go back to our map. Hit play, and if this works, the progress should increase. But again, it only increased by 10% because the overlap event only works once. If I leave, jump back in, it's 20%. 30%. It works, but it's janky. We want it to keep incrementing while we're standing inside of it. So that's the next step. So while we're inside of our capture point blueprint, we're going to break some things to make a for loop. I'm going to break this delay out here. So the thing we're going to do is we're going to make a for loop. And if you're not familiar with loops, it's basically a programming function of saying do things more than one time. And we're going to, as in programming, things start at 0, 1, 2, and so on. So our first index is 0, our last index is going to be 10. Because again, if we're adding 10 each increment to our progress bar, 10 times is 100, and 100 divided by 100 is 1, which is 100%. That's why we need our final index to be 10. Or we're going to run this loop 10 times. And then we're going to loop the body. So basically we want to loop this point is saying delay once, update the value. We're going to do that 10 times. Whenever we set up an array, we're going to get actors of all class. So saying any actor, a third person character, who overlaps this sphere, we're going to loop this 10 times and update the value. So this should continue to update our progress bar. And did not update the progress bar. So there's a bug here. Let's go back and look why. So again, the thing is, even though we have a loop that's running 10 times, the initial event only happens once. Like I said, an overlap event only happens once. So to fix this, we need to create an event tick. Ticks happen all the time. They're always running. Okay, and then we need to add a Boolean. We're going to add a Boolean to check is the player in the zone or not, because we don't want the loop to run if the player is not in the zone. So we're going to add a variable and call this in zone. Okay, and then we're going to break the authority here, and we're going to come in here and set in zone to true. And then on the event tick, we're going to check if the player is in the zone. Get in zone branch. If the condition is true, run the loop. Okay, but we don't want the loop running all the time, so we need to have a check to see have we reached 100%. So from our third person character, we're going to do get progress value. We're going to compare it. Is it equal to float equal 100? If it is, branch, and we're going to say a new bool, going to stop loop and then if it's true, we're going to set stop loop to true. So basically, when we run the loop, we're going to delay, we're going to update the value, and it's going to come in here, and we're going to keep checking. And if the value has reached 100%, we're going to hit stop loop. And go back to our event tick. For the first branch, we're going to break that loop, and we're going to add a check, get stop loop, branch. So the in zone has to be true, but the stop loop needs to be false. If the loop is true, then this will break and the loop will not continue. Compile, save, and let's test this out. But also, before we test it, let's have an event that says the player leaves the zone. We're going to stop the loop as well. So click on our sphere, add event, collision, on and overlap. Switch has authority. And we're going to do set in zone to false. So basically, if this is false, this first loop here will not work. So compile, save. Let's try it out. And now you can see the progress bar is incrementing because the event tick is each tick is checking, am I in the zone? Am I in the zone? Yes, I am. If I leave, I've reached 100%. But let me try that again. So I'm going to go in the zone, and I leave, the progress will stop. But if I go back in the zone, the progress continues. But let's say if I leave the zone, I want the progress to go to 0. Let's do that in the next step. So let's jump back to our third-person blueprint. We're going to make another custom event. Add custom event. I'm going to call this force progress value. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the progress value to 0. That's it. When we run that function, it's going to automatically set the value to 0. Even if here the math has gone to 50, it's going to set it back to 0. Compile, save, go back to our capture point, and then we're going to copy some code, some blueprint from here. So select the get class, get all actors, get third person character. Control W to clone it. And make sure to connect the other actor or the end overlap to the get class. And then what we're saying here is when we end overlap, are we in the zone? No, we're not. And then we're going to check which people are not in the zone. It's a third person character. And as third person character, we're going to do force progress value. And then actually we're going to add a break that link. We're just going to add a quick delay. A second delay, even half second delay. And then we're going to force the value. Save. And now one other thing we can do is that points thing we made, let's make sure that that gets incremented as well when we reach 100% on our progress. And then instead of stopping the loop here, when we had update the value when we reach 100%, stop the loop, we're going to break that. So we broke our stop loop. This all stays the same, but instead of stopping the loop when we reach 100%, we're going to do the function, some third person character, update, what was it called? What did I call it? I forgot. Set points. Set points. So basically, when our progress is 100%, we're going to update the point to 1. But then we want to make sure that when we reach a certain level of points, we stop. So as third person character, do get points, simple Boolean math here. Points, int equal int. Let's say 5. And then we're gonna go out. We're gonna do a branch, and then set points. We'll go to the branch, and if it's true, we're gonna stop the loop. So let me just clean this up a little bit here and walk you through it before we test it. So we're gonna play. So if our progress is 100%, the point should increase. There we go. But now there's a slight bug. When I left the progress, the zone, it still added a 10% progress. So let's make sure that doesn't happen. Just as a little hack, instead of a 0.5 second delay on the end overlap to force a progress value, let's set it to 1 second. Compile, save, minimize, play from here. So I jump on it, I get out, and it forces itself to 0. So the thing is working. So let's go back and increment to 1. I'll leave and come back. Increment to 2, and so on and so forth. Yes, to make it work, you still have to step on it, but when you're stepping on it, it will update the functions. So in this example, you can have it where you can hide the thing you need to use, the capture point or the lever, or disable it so that you have don't have players using it over and over. As an example, I can do that very quickly where it'll disappear when we're done and reappear when after a few seconds, so that the player can still step on it, but it'll keep moving different locations, kind of like a King of the Hill zone. So I'm not gonna duplicate this object many times, but you'll get the idea of what I'm trying to do, showcasing that, yes, the player has to step on it to make it work. When you're in it, it will update the score. But when the score is 100%, you have to leave to reset it, which is what it's supposed to do. But for example, let's say you don't want that to happen. You want the object to maybe just disappear, so the player can't use it again. So let's do that. So we'll click on our actor, go to his blueprint, and when we have 100% progress, we'll set the points. And when the set points is true, we'll stop the loop. That's true. And then what we're going to do is, so let's add another Boolean. We'll call it is visible. And we're going to go up here. I'm going to get is visible. Break this link here. Is visible. Sorry. Branch. So in zone is true, is visible is true, and stop loop is false. Or sorry, we don't need to do that. We need to just set the visibility, and then go here, and then stop loop should be false. And at the end, when the points is, instead of set points, when we reach 100%, we're going to do set visibility on our cylinder and our sphere. Actually, before we do that, we can break that and do another bool is visible. We can do set to true, and when it's true, we'll hide them, and when we're hiding them, we'll set the points, and when the points are equal to 5, stop the loop. But for this case, instead of setting to 5, we'll set it to 1, so we don't have to wait that long. So when we get 1 point, we'll stop the loop. Let's test this out. And I broke something. Instead of doing an on event tick, I'm going to have one more thing called event begin play. And I'm going to break this off, break this, and move it up here. And then keep this the way it was. Save. Yeah, that was the problem. So now when we reach 100%, it should be 1 point, and the capture thing should disappear. And there it is. So you can't use it anymore. Now let's say you want it to come back, so the player can use it again. Very simple script. Let's just so the loop will work, we'll set this to target points when it equals 2. Alright. And then to bring it back, we can keep it at 1. Sorry, the point's at 1. And instead of stopping the loop, when it's true, we'll delay, let's say by 5 seconds. And we will duplicate this of our sphere actor and our cylinder actor bring back the visibility, and then we can do another thing here. We can do int equal to integer the points when is equal to 2 branch. When that is true, stop the loop. And this will come from the set visibility. Compile, save. Let's try it out. So when you get 1 point, it should disappear. 5 seconds later, it should come back. So you can reuse it again. And it came back. And we can use it again. So there you go. It's a very basic tutorial on how to set up a progress bar, how to set up some basic math to talk to on-screen UI, and some basic stuff of how to hide and unhide actors with booleans. So hopefully you found this tutorial informative and helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I will get to them as soon as I can. And as always, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And hopefully you can use this tutorial to build some cool stuff by yourself. And if you do build cool stuff and you get stuck, let me know. I'll try to help you as best as I can. So again, thank you for watching the video. Hope you found it helpful. And continue to support the channel. And I'll see you next time in the next tutorial. Bye.